Welcome to the Underground, the Steel City Underground, the black and gold standard for Pittsburgh Steelers coverage. Now, here's your host, Joe Kuzma and Brian E. Roach.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Steel City Underground podcast. My name is Joe Kuzma, and the bobblehead next to me here, a co-host with the most, and apparently a doppelganger, Mr. Brian E. Roach. Brian, there were people in the comments section asking, where is Brian E. Roach? It's like, I wonder if they pop in all the time, or they just pop in here or there. They're not true 2%ers. In fact, I'm not even sure that people know what the 2%er means if they haven't actually been one of the 2% to follow through to the end of the show. So,
well, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. But yeah, if you're a 2%er, how you doing?
How's it going, folks? Yeah, you know what? We always some type of technical difficulty or whatever. Brian had pointed out, just as we were trying to get this ball rolling here, that there's no pro football this weekend. So we're coming to you with a special edition of the Steel City Underground podcast as teams trim their roster from 80 down to 53, including the Pittsburgh Steelers. Hardly probably finalized, but at least enough to talk about right now. And Brian was over here doing the OHIO on screen with his Ohio State Buckeyes shirt. Probably going to tick off the Nittany Lions fans that maybe tune in, Mountaineers fans, some of the Steelers fans who masquerade. Steelers Nation's worldwide. They probably got fans in like SoCal or something that follow UCLA, USC, and stuff like that too. So we love you all. We don't want to ruffle any feathers. We're all under the same umbrella here. But on Saturdays, which is for the boys, by the way, did you know that, Brian? Saturdays for the boys. But Sunday's for the men. We don't have to, I don't know. I just made that up. But somebody came up with that. Saturdays for the boys. I think it's a Barstool thing. Anyway, no pro football this weekend. So we're going to cover this a little early. We got the holidays. Everybody enjoy your grilling. Did you know Flash is a grill master, by the way? It's on his Twitter. He's got like some ridiculous grill.
I've heard he is a master of some sort. I didn't know it was grills.
Oh, that's classic. And by the way, while Brian's wearing his Buckeyes shirt, we were talking about this, the smiley guy that kind of looks like he could be a Steelers smiley guy, but I can't say that. And that kind of, you might want to get this shirt if you want. It's steelcityunderground.com/shop before it disappears again. I keep having to fight to like keep this thing on the interwebs for whatever reason. Like, I don't know, no logo, no nothing. It's just, this is artwork. It's crazy. It's artwork I designed. Like I actually made this, and people are like, you can't use the word emoji. It's even the word emoji is trademark. You can't say emoji anywhere in it. I don't know who owns it. Smiley guy. I did that. Smiley guy. I think even Smiley guy might even be trademarked. It's from Forrest Gump when he wipes his face with the mud on the shirt. And stuff happens because we don't swear. We don't have a swear jar like Flash either. Like people,
I would be much poorer individual if I had a swear jar in my house.
Most people don't realize you and I'm the son of a truck driver. So I swear like a sailor, swear like a truck driver, but I have a filter here. And Flash, he knows it. Zach knows it. He's listening, laughing right now, probably. That I got to go in and I got to hit the beep button, go back in and edit. He creates more work, more chaos, more havoc. We have talked about doing like an NSFW type show and just letting her rip. But there was someone that said I took the Lord's name in vain like a month ago, and I'm not even sure what I said, if I said it, or even realized I had said it. And I was like, geez, I really offended somebody. I apologize. I don't mean to. That's something that's like one thing where I try not to. Like I use the F word like the English, like the British governor, and that's just outside of this. So like I like us to maybe have like a good rating on YouTube and be able to be listened without parental guidance. Maybe even water cooler talk. Maybe somebody's listening to this in their workplace and they've got speakers on, and just what you need is for some other person to get offended by it. So I try and keep it clean. But yeah, the swear jar would be full. And we can't afford that. There's too much inflation out there, dude. I can't afford it. So we were talking that, there might not be any other programming the rest of this week. We'll come back after the Labor Day holiday extended weekend, and then we'll be ready for football. Steelers on September 11th, but NFL kicks off September 8th, Thursday night football. And I had to look this one up because, like you said, two teams we probably don't care about. And it was the Buffalo Bills and the Los Angeles Rams. So, but I'll still end up watching it, and you may or may not. I don't know. We'll have to see what else is, what other programming's on. There's always college football and all kinds of other stuff.
Since the Rams just got brought up, for our good friend, very good friend, close compatriot, Mr. Bragg, I think Aaron Donald should be fined, okay? If he swing a helmet, he should be fined, just to be clear.
Yeah, he's a little crazy about that whole thing. I'm not trying to make excuse. Why'd you bring that up, by the way?
Why not? You said the word Rams.
Yeah, I know. And it's, I'm not trying to make any excuses for anybody. Like, that's not, I don't know if he swung him at anybody. I don't know the context. We just saw him holding him around like he was like Conan the Barbarian or something, like severed heads or whatnot.
I caveated this by saying, if he swung a helmet at a human being, he should be fined. Not fine, but fined.
And I guess like this has to do with CBA stuff. This is what the players agree to, and when it comes to discipline and stuff like that, is how do you suspend somebody in the regular season for something that happens in practice? So that's why mum's been the word, because quite frankly, it's not something that was on national TV, primetime game that serves a black eye to the NFL. It was somebody's still shot of him holding two helmets. Maybe he just snatched them off people and that was it. And he was holding it there. And I don't know. I was trying to figure out why those two teams that just played in the Super Bowl were having joint practices to begin with. Would that not be like a hotly contested? Like most of those players are returning. This isn't like 3 years down the road where they're probably
didn't seem like the best idea.
No,
really didn't
didn't
seem well thought out, if you ask me. We just beat you in the Super Bowl. Now we're gonna come over to your house and hang out and practice with you. At the same time, they're talking some, caca, and
now we've gone to toddler words. We've regressed. We went in the other direction. But no, that's exactly it. And the NFL schedules this as a preseason game. That's the reason why they're having the joint practices to begin with. And then they end up having a game, and like, who cares? Nobody of consequence played in it. Sean McVay plays no starters. And people were praising that. And they were talking about how it's like a different way from, it was Charles Davis, by the way, in that last Steelers game on Sunday. And talking about how that's maybe a different philosophy from Mike Tomlin or whatever. And I'm like, the Rams don't always start so hot either, And I don't know that there's a right or a wrong, and people, criticizing Robert Salah with the Jets and Zach Wilson, and you're never going to get it right when there's millions of dollars on the table. Yeah, you can't afford anything to go wrong, but you got to be able to afford for it to go right as well. So I don't know exactly what to say about that. However, we do have, finally, Brian, we were talking about this Friday. Zach and I talked about this a little bit, what was that, yesterday, I think. And we were talking about the 53-man roster and who could make it and maybe some of the surprises and some of the other things. So we're going to go down this list. And there's a whole bunch of stuff. This comes from the Steelers directly, Steelers.com. There were some moves today, too, as well, with the Steelers making some trades. So we're going to, highlight a little bit of the stuff here. Let's pull it up. 3 quarterbacks, and I don't know why this is a surprise to anybody. Apparently, Charles Davis, who actually thought, he said Mason Rudolph could be the odd man out. And it's like, have you paid attention that the Pittsburgh Steelers have retained 3 quarterbacks since Shep was a pup? I mean, they had 4 back when Cordell Stewart was a rookie, even though Cordell was more slash and a wide receiver. But just a dumb comment. By the way, these are in order by uniform number, if that player happens to have one so far. So that's why I said Mason Rudolph just off the top of my head, but it's really not. It's the first name on this list, followed by Kenny Pickett, Mitch Trubisky. Obviously, it's not in order of starters or depth charts or anything like that, but 3 quarterbacks, no surprise to anyone. I think the surprises come when we look at the running backs here. And I don't think any of us were expecting the Steelers to get rid of some guys that they thought. I thought maybe they would actually hold on to maybe some more running backs than they ended up doing. In particular, Anthony McFarland Jr. just got released, and we don't quite know. We could kind of speculate as to whom may end up back on the practice squad if they're eligible, et cetera, et cetera. But, it starts off with Najee Harris, obviously. I think some folks are surprised that Benny Snell football is still hanging around, but Benny Snell, special teams player, but when the depth chart comes out, maybe he lost his main primary backup role to Jaylen Warren. Sorry, had a brain fart for a second. And then, of course, listing here as a fourth running back is actually fullback Derek Watt, of whom I had to get in Twitter arguments today. The Twitter, people just wanted to cut him. They think, oh, now they have Conor Hayward. He's expendable. You get somebody else to do his job. And I actually heard like some names thrown around like Miles Killebrew and Benny Snell himself. And Brian, I'm just sick of hearing it. Yeah, he has a higher cap number because they backloaded the contract. Makes like $3 million a year, special teamer. That's like on the higher end of special teams player. It's barely above somebody with tenured NFL experience, like 5-6 years in the NFL. Veteran minimum is probably like $1.5 million right now or something like that. I'm just tired of hearing the whole thing. The dude played like 335 snaps or something. I could look it up. I'm not going to, but he played damn near every special team snap last season. Oh, he only played like 40 offensive snaps. Well, Benny Snell only played like 100. And I'm trying to think, I think Killebrew only had like 40 some. He only had like 6 more snaps on defense as opposed to the fullback, because they can't call him anything else like a gunner or whatever, special protector. That's what they should do. They should list them like they need positions like that. But there are players all over the NFL that, aside, there's rookies that fill some roles on special teams, but there are other players around the league, and people really took exception for whatever reason. Oh, this is all this money. They wouldn't save that much if they released him anyways and find somebody that's his quality of player. And special teams, everybody poo-poos the special teams, but special teams is important. So it's very, very important. You have a bad punt coverage. You see what happens the other day. There was a blocked kick that could make a world of difference. Even going back to that Green Bay game that the Steelers played last year, week 4, and how that didn't count. But if it did, I know only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades, but I don't know. I'm sick of the Derek Watt hate. It wasn't a surprise they made this roster. The team has always kept, or it has in the past, kept a fullback that's also played special teams as well, like a Will Johnson, a Rosie Nix, David Johnson, and H-back. That's where Conor Hayward comes in when we get in a tight end group. Surprised that Anthony McFarland didn't earn a spot on this job. Think he comes back. I don't know.
Am I surprised he didn't? Look, last time we talked, I said I won't be surprised if Benny Snell gets cut. I wouldn't be surprised if Anthony McFarland gets cut. One of the two of them I thought was definitely going to go. Benny has more value on special teams than Anthony McFarland does. So he probably got the nod for that very reason, as you've said. But am I surprised? No. Look, Jaylen Warren made more of an impression in preseason than either one of them did. So, it's really not a surprise. And it shouldn't be a surprise to anyone that Jaylen Warren made the team over one of those two. Now, for those who are asking for Benny Snell to be cut, really, are you saying Benny Snell should be cut over Anthony McFarland? Like, I don't know how you can make that argument. There's no thought process behind that, right? If you're going to cut one of the two of them, probably Anthony McFarland was more likely, unless he had blown up the last preseason game, which clearly he did not. So, that's just my take.
Yeah, I thought maybe he would have done enough. I thought they would have kept an extra running back, but instead we're going to probably roll into the next position group, which is the, if I can pull it up here, come on, the wide receivers, which was cut off a little bit here by our little title bar. So I wanted to be sure we got everybody in there. 7, count them, 7 wide receivers. It sounds to me like somebody might be going on injured reserve or some other move is going to happen. 6 is usually a pretty absurd number for the wide receiver group. I understand there were some dudes that had a pretty good preseason, but 7 players. What really scares me looking at this, Brian, is what's going on with Calvin Austin, because you don't have injury reports. They're not required in the preseason. And right. To me, this kind of sounds like there's something serious going on with somebody. Chase Claypool, who's been kind of babied along as well during this. Deontay Johnson, who just left the game. Something's a little fishy here. I'm sure maybe folks, by the time you're listening to this, if you're, headed into Wednesday and there's going to be transactions by 4:00 again, that's going to move maybe some guys over to injured reserve. Monte Casey, for example, may as well throw that out there. They have to be on the initial 53-man roster. So everyone that you're going to see on this list can be put on injured reserve and brought back. Had they not made the 53, their season's over. That was the Josh Dobbs thing last year. So they have to make it here. There are some players that were released that may be coming back to the main roster. There are some players that were released that may be eligible for the practice squad. I do not expect this to be 7 wide receivers for very long, and hopefully it's nothing that's too serious. And of course, if it was that serious, they wouldn't have made the 53 to begin with.
Yeah, that was to me the biggest surprise of anything on this, in this reveal of who made it and who didn't, was that just was an inordinately large number of wide receivers. At the same time, stranger things had happened, and as you said, we haven't seen Calvin Austin. We haven't seen Chase Claypool really be fully healthy through camp. Deontay got dinged. So you don't know. You just don't know. We'll have to wait and see. I can't imagine that they go into the season with 7 wide receivers on the 53. Just can't. It's inconceivable to me. Inconceivable.
Yeah, it really is. Miles Boykin, like I said, kind of changed my mind a little bit. Going through this, I thought maybe on special teams, Steve Sims did just enough. He kind of fits into the Matt Canada jet sweep type stuff. But ultimately, if you have Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool, and George Pickens all healthy, and then Gunnar Olszewski is going to be active because he is the kick and punt return dude.
Yeah,
there's no other spots really. That fifth wide receiver might not even make it. Not even make it active on game days, which is more par for the course. This is like more of the business thing. This isn't like to try and disparage any players or run anybody down and say, oh well, this guy's not good, or it's just X's and O's. There's 53 spots, and this happens sometimes where maybe a safety gets hurt and you got to cut a wide receiver to open a spot for a completely different position, and it's no fault of that safety, for example, or no fault of that wide receiver that ends up getting released so they can make room for another DB. It's just something that happens, and oh well. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to belabor on that, but it's just to say that some of the bottom spots on the roster, perceived bottom spots or extra spots, 6 or even 7 wide receivers being unnecessary, those jobs are going to be in jeopardy daily, because somebody could even get hurt in practice and then adios. Or even in the case of, let's say Chris Boswell pulls something. It's not serious. You just got to sit him a week. You got to make room for another kicker somewhere.
Yep.
We've seen that happen too. I feel bad that this happens to some of the players, but it's a nature of the beast kind of thing. There's no way of avoiding it. Now, having said all that, there's an obscene amount of wide receivers, and maybe not as much at some of the other positions. They always tend to get me when we're talking about offensive linemen. And they did this again too. Oh, I'm jumping to offensive linemen already. Shame on me. But you know what? I'm gonna fit them. I'm gonna fit them into the square if I can. We'll see if I can get everybody in here. Okay, Kendrick Green, he just thanked God that he made on Twitter the God be good or praise God. He had something that was real short with the prayer hands as his tweet. And I it shouldn't be funny, but we know, and I think even he knows, to be fortunate that he's still a part of this franchise based on what wasn't exactly the best play this preseason and overall. JC Hassenauer is also still a part of this team for now. Mason Cole should be the starting center. Dan Moore Jr., Kevin Dotson, Chuks Okorafor, James Daniels, and the team just traded for Jesse Davis, who started for 5 seasons with who was it? Was it the Miami Dolphins? And just got signed by the Vikings. So this reminds me very much by the way, of last year with Ahkello Witherspoon, and how he was a late addition to the roster. And he had gone over to the Seahawks via the 49ers. He had played for the 49ers for a spell. I think all of his rookie contract, 4 years. And they just odd man out. And I know some people were already ragging on like the PFF scores and stuff like that. And when you have Tua Tagovailoa running around, or whoever you have back there, Ryan Fitzpatrick and everything, okay, guy gave up 8 sacks here or there. The 4 penalties, that sounds a lot better in a 16-game season. Dan Moore was committing 2, 3, whatever in just one preseason game. He's going to be looking over his shoulder, I think, based on this trade. Somebody that's a veteran, somebody that's experienced, somebody that'll at least be the swing tackle now that Joe Haeg had been released. Will Joe Haeg come back? I don't know. A few other linemen like John LeGlue, Chaz Green, they were off. Those might be practice squad candidates. But I think we all agreed the Steelers had to do something. Is this something, an improvement? I can't say yes or no.
Here's what Jesse Davis has. Position flexibility. The dude has started 4 out of the 5 line positions. So he's got position flexibility. That just makes him a valuable asset because he can basically fill in anywhere. And I'm going to say my little piece here on Kendrick Green, because I liked Kendrick Green. I wasn't upset with that pick. I did say that it was going to be a project and he would be work, but I wasn't upset with the pick at the time. That being said, I'm going to tell you.
You're banging your desk over there like a gavel. You're the judge.
My desk over here.
I think you may have also knocked your mic over. You might want to check.
My mic is still standing.
Okay.
I will stop banging my desk. But here's the thing.
I got the ear cans, man, and I'm just like boom, 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 boom. It sounds like Jurassic Park in my head.
On purpose. I don't think Kendrick Green is safe right now.
No.
The right person comes off waivers. The right person gets released by another team. I don't think he's still safe. But I also acknowledge that the Steelers have some hard-headedness at times and will hold on to draft picks much longer than they should if they view that there's a chance that that individual might still have some ability. But Kendrick Green, I just so disappointed in the way he's performed this preseason.
Yeah. I thought maybe going to guard, more natural positions, what he played in college. Okay, you're not a center. Fine. They're never going to let him play center, not even in a backup role. I don't think there's a lot of position flexibility left. And when you're in one of these backup offensive lineman spots, not having any kind of position flexibility could be the kiss of death for your NFL career. But they may still feel this is somebody they could develop or work with. Maybe the same way with Dan Moore, but Dan Moore may lose his spot. Will he lose it in the next 2 weeks before they even play a single game? I doubt. I kind of doubt it, maybe, but he hasn't shown enough to say that that's a lock either.
No, I think there are 3 people that are locked into their positions: Trent Cole, Chooks, and what's his name? James Daniels. The other side of the line, I don't think is solid in any way, shape, or form, or guaranteed to have their positions come September 11th. Doesn't mean they won't. Just saying, no guarantee.
The judge has spoken. Judge, jury, and executioner all in one. Let's move over to the tight end group. Really no surprise at all. Pat Freiermuth still looking like a dog out there. And I think the only thing that's really surprising is the number of tight ends that the Steelers ended up retaining. You've got Zach Gentry as the primary backup entering a contract year. I would really like to see Gentry stick around for another season. And then Conor Hayward. And somebody was talking about, just how much more Conor Hayward could be out there and play. If you paid attention, he doesn't play fullback. They still have him listed as double. And it's like, okay, he might be like a sidecar there in the backfield. That's about it. He's H-back. He's primarily tight end from everything that I've seen in all indications. Is he shifty? Is he sneaky? Can he be a gadget player in different ways? Absolutely. What's he look like with special teams? I don't know. I just saw him and Cam. They were in the front row at Monday Night Raw. Alex Highsmith and somebody else who I forgot. They were partying it up, and it's just like, hey, look, mini Cam, grown-ass man Cam. I bet either one of them could have probably jumped in the ring. But I don't know that Conor Hayward is going to come around tackling people in the same kind of intensity and consistency of a Derek Watt. That's why they're both on this roster. And I think the Steelers have felt that way in years past, that they like the flexibility of having a player that could primarily be a blocker, and then a player that could kind of squirt out on the end of the line, have a chip block, play in the slot, something like that. But no big surprise. My guy, Kevin Rader, maybe back to the practice squad. I think they still like him, unless somebody else likes him more and he has an opportunity to go for it, dude. Go get on a 53 somewhere. Otherwise, like, he made a hell of a career out of, basically nothing out of Youngstown State. It just clawed him, it kind of almost like a walk-on type situation. I got my favorites, obviously. So, I'm gonna mention that real quick too. It's like, I didn't have any backpedaling on the whole Kenny Pickett thing. I think I've been pretty consistent on saying I'd like him to sit and learn, but he also showed me enough this preseason versus Mitch, kind of mid, not as high up as you would maybe want when you're looking at all three quarterbacks and you're talking about whether they can go this way, that way, or the other one. But my favorite thing, Brian, is, and we've said this all along, oh, Mason Rudolph's trash. Go get a second-round pick for him. Well, wait a minute. If he's good enough to get a second-round pick for, is he trash or not? Like, come on. Is there some consistency if he has any value? And the Steelers reportedly, Jerry Dulac said it, Mark Cabali said it, and a few others came out and said that they're not interested. They got some calls. They fielded some offers, and they would rather have Mason as an insurance policy. So I just have to go back on that, because Kenny's been up here since this picture went on my wall, like the Monday after the draft. He's been there. He swapped out Juju. Gotta love Juju knocking Vontaze Burfict in the next week, but Juju's no longer a Steeler, so I had to move him out of here. Steeler by heart, maybe in the future, maybe welcome him back with open arms. But right now, that's the future of the team, like it or not, at some point. It's happening. It's going to happen. Yeah. You don't invest the first-round pick to have him not play at all, and unless you have a really crappy season and you draft Kyler Murray and get rid of Josh Rosen after getting it wrong the first time around. But that's about it. I'll rest my case on that.
Look, I'm not changing my tune either, because it's been the same tune the whole time. I don't have any problem with Mason Rudolph still being on the team as a backup, because that's what I think he is. I also have said, if Kenny earns the starting job, Kenny deserves the starting job. If he doesn't, then it's Mitch's. That's the way I looked at it from the beginning. Do I think Kenny did enough to earn the starting job? I don't know. Did I think that, Mitch did enough to lose it? Probably not. So do I think that Mitch Trubisky will be the starting quarterback at the end of the season? I might be a little less willing to say that. But I think he'll be the starter on September 11th.
Yeah, and all indications look that way from the very beginning, too. Do I feel comfortable with that? No, I don't. And I would say you could go a couple different ways. It's either going to be that mini bye, three weeks in, and you're already pulling the plug on the experiment. It could be the bye week. Could be any other reason. I'm barring anything like injury. You know what I mean? I'm just saying performance-wise. Do we see Kenny at some time during the year? I would assume that maybe, and especially if you see him in practice. We even floated this idea the other day, Brian. It was like, would they be so brash as to not even have Kenny back up Mitch Trubisky and have Mason in that spot? I mean, I'm not trying to say that because Mason looked like the clear 3 in their eyes, but he's the experienced player. And if you're going to have somebody just totally sit under the learning tree, then he's not even going to get a helmet on game days. But I would like to think that they would not do that, because then you at least have him as an option to throw in there. But, man, it's going to be a mess no matter what. You hear it everywhere else. I think Carolina, Sam Darnold did everyone a favor getting hurt, because now you're not going to hear about him, or you're not going to hear about Matt Corral getting hurt there either. It's the Baker show. But if the other guy gets healthy and the other guy struggles, it's the same thing around the league with the number of players. You got Geno Smith and Drew Lock, and you've got Marcus Mariota, Desmond Ridder looked good against, the grocery baggers as well. So you're going to hear these stories all the way around until somebody is settled in and it's definitely the starter. And then you're going to get 2-3 years into this, and it's going to be, well, if Kenny was if he's kind of mid, then it's going to be, are they looking at somebody else? Is this going to be the next guy? Would they draft somebody? And you start the whole roller coaster process again. It's never ending. And it's never ending when the guys are on the back end of their career. When's Ben going to retire? When's Tom Brady going to retire? Aaron Rodgers is next. They're going to be like, when's he washed up? It's just that he hasn't stumbled at all yet. They'll be talking about him soon enough because 2005 was that the draft class he came in? I think so. He's like the elder statesman now, I think. Other than Brady, of course. Other than Brady, of course. Well, of course, the dude's like what? Like he's approaching George Blanda territory.
Freaking mutant,
alien, lizard person, probably.
I'm not sure that he's not from Westworld. I'm just saying.
Oh man, I got to catch up on that. All right, that'll do it for the offense. Let's go over 7 defensive linemen. Montravius Adams makes the cut. The 2 Davis brothers, the Davis twins, do not. Khalil and Carlos. Carlos, 7th-round pick. Khalil was on the practice squad. Then you've got Larry Ogunjobi, Isaiah Loudermilk, Tyson Alualu, Chris Wormley, Cam Hayward, and the rookie DeMarvin Leal. I think we all felt at some point that this would be kind of the makeup of the defensive line. I don't think there's any really big surprises here because I just didn't feel that the Davis guys were expendable. They could be practice squad material again, just based on experience. And Henry Mondo, again, that's been a guy like Rader that's been on and off the practice squad as well.
Yeah, literally not a surprise here to me.
I totally agree with you. Let's jump over to gotta move this up and get everybody on here because there's a new addition on this list. But let's talk about the guys who made the cut: Robert Spillane, Derek Tuska, Miles Jack, Devin Bush, Alex Highsmith, TJ Watt, Mark Robinson, the rookie, as your linebackers, and a trade for Malik Reed from the Denver Broncos. That means Buddy Johnson gone after 1 year. Ulysses Gilbert was already gone a little earlier. Marcus Allen converted over from safety to inside linebacker, gone. But again, Zach was calling him a cockroach as well. He could very well be back. Practice squad type material. So Malik Reed, they needed some experienced depth. We don't know what's going on with Alex Highsmith either. He's been kind of held there, but you'll love this, Brian. Mark Madden said something earlier. Malik Reed playing over Alex Highsmith? No, not over. Maybe in place of. They got to put some respect on my dude's name with the Highsmith clan here. It's just, it's not fair. I tweeted out something earlier. Let's see if I can pull it up real quick. And it was about Alex Highsmith. 12 games after Melvin Ingram was put on the sidelines there. He started to cry about his playing time, and they put him there. That was the Seattle game on. So 12 games. Alex Highsmith, 6 sacks, 14 tackles for loss, 15 quarterback hits, and a forced fumble. All in those 12 games. Put that over 17 games, and we're starting to talk about like some honors, maybe some Pro Bowl type nods, maybe. He'll get a little more recognition. Melvin Ingram being there kind of hindered maybe some of that. He also got dinged. I think Highsmith was out of game early in last season.
The biggest concern right now with Alex Highsmith is the injury history because he's been dinged every year. But still, I'm not taking anything away from him. I love the kid. I think we know if you've watched the show, right, or listened to the show, you know what my take on M squared is. So he can go bite my you-know-what.
No, I don't know what. What could that be, Brian? I don't need to censor anything else. Just don't tell us. We'll use our imagination.
I'm sitting on it. That's what he can bite.
That's great.
And, you know, that it's, yes, if Highsmith is dinged and hurt, sure, Malik Reed could get some playing time early on. But I think it's a solid depth move. It's one of the things that they needed. It was one of the areas of concern I had was going into the season with nobody but Derek Tuska as a person to
back up for what? Yeah.
Yeah. TJ and potentially Alex Highsmith. So they had to do something there. Not at all a surprise that they did. I was a little surprised who they got, but not like dramatically so. And yeah, look, Is this a guy that's going to come in and make the Hall of Fame with the Steelers? Probably not. But solid quality depth, which is what they needed.
Yeah, and there are some folks that were talking about cutting Devin Bush, which I think is a little too extreme. I actually think
he had a nice play in that last preseason game.
Yeah, I know. And you know what? That might be all he gets sometimes. Everybody's looking for the big splash plays. They forget what he was like as a rookie. You got folks that are clamoring for Mark Robinson. Hey, 1 year as a linebacker in college, and there he is. I know you got your hand up. You're going to start him next to Miles Jack over Spilly and Bush? Get him some experience?
But I'm going to get him in the mix. I'm just telling you.
That's okay. Rotation's fine.
I'm going to get him in the mix. Do I start Mark Robinson? No. But I am thrilled. I'm ready to do a jig. My bobblehead is a bobbling because he made the team.
No, man,
that's on the practice squad.
I'm good with all of it. I was looking at the Broncos for a different reason. I wasn't looking at like outside or edge help. I was actually looking at that interior because they had signed Joe Schobert at one point. What's going on with Josie Jewell? That's where I was looking. I was looking in the wrong spot. I wasn't thinking Malik Reed at all. And again, it's a veteran player. Oh, what's Malik Reed at right now? Entered the league undrafted in 2019. He's only 26 years of age. So he's still got a lot of football left in him. And I guess some of the brass, I saw something from somebody in the front office for the Denver Broncos, and they said they weren't just going to trade him anywhere. And they kind of did him a solid. And there was also a swap of picks, too. So Denver most likely moves up like 20-some spots from the 7th round into the 6th round. They get the Steelers 6th. The Steelers get the 7th round pick in return there. Let's see, Malik Reed, let's see what he was doing last year. 13 starts, a couple pass deflections, couple forced fumbles, 5 sacks, 43 combined tackles. Got to the quarterback 8 times, 3 tackles for loss. The previous year, though, he was totally a dude. 8 sacks, 8 tackles for loss, and 17 quarterback hits. So we'll see if he could tap into what he did the previous year. Of course, Denver up and down defense, like they should always be good on paper. The team has like injuries and stuff like that. And I guess he got caught up in it like a loaded room. And I know there's some people that were talking about he's entering the final year of a rookie contract. Who cares? It's like late round, 6th round pick. There'll be compensatory picks maybe somewhere in like these formulas too. The Steelers are still very young. Maybe not. I'm trying to think. They didn't really lose anybody big this year, but down the road, this was like a 2025 pick, or was that the other trade? One of them was like a 2025 pick. I'm like,
yeah, some jagoff out there was really complaining about expending draft capital here. Go away. Shut up. Really? 6th round pick is draft cap? Go away.
Yeah, it's pretty silly. Some of the takes that you see, I like the one where somebody was like, literally nobody is making that argument. You're just arguing like with yourself. And I'm not even sure what it was over. Because I honestly, I don't try to lose sleep over this type of stuff. But I was like, no, all you have to do is like type the last name of the player in and you will see tons of dumb arguments about this. Absolutely. You're not creating arguments out of thin air. Usually like 99% of what I'm talking about, I saw or heard somewhere. And it's the reason I'm talking about it. So, let's see. We had linebackers. Let's get to corners. Maybe no surprises here. I don't know. Justin Lane is no longer on the team. Yeah, but
it was surprise.
Well, it was
right at the end of that list. That's a surprise.
What? James Pierre? It was.
Yes.
I think it was a coin flip between either one. To be completely honest, I think we may have said that, or myself and Flash had said that. But Cam Sutton, Keller Witherspoon, Levi Wallace, all locked in.
He and Kendrick Green have naked pictures of somebody's wife.
He might, but Arthur Maulet we knew was going to be in there because he was already penciled in the depth chart by himself as a nickel corner, and he's under contract. I mean, that doesn't always save everyone, but I think he was a priority player, and he might not have seen as much of him throughout the preseason, and that's just because they didn't need to.
Yep. I
mean, they wanted to evaluate everyone else. Jumping in the safeties. This is the one that could be kind of a mess. Like we were talking about, KZ could be on IR. I guess I forgot who I was speaking with. Somebody that's not necessarily on the inside, but one of the beat writers. They got their ear to the ground. Was talking about Killebrew has been practicing Miles Killebrew's on this too, so we'll see if there's any kind of transaction that ends up occurring with him as well. Trey Norwood makes the team, and he's behind what should be the two perceived starters in Terrell Edmonds and Minkah Fitzpatrick. Only 5 safeties. That's probably down from what I thought could have been 6 or 7 instead of the wide receivers when you still had Carl Joseph healthy. We'll see if Elijah Riley's in this mix. He seemed to be... Mike Tomlin doesn't always mention certain players by name, so when these guys come up in conversation in some of the press conferences, perhaps they're more highly thought of.
Perhaps. It'll be interesting to see who they sign back and who they put on the practice squad. I would imagine that some of these guys that were folks we thought might have made it, but didn't, will be those people. I also think they'll fill out the practice squad with some folks who get pulled from other teams, provided that they can pass through everything through waivers. It'll be interesting. I do think this is not, well, we know this every year. This is not the final 53.
No.
And it will change before we get to September 11th. It will change probably before we get to next weekend. So, might change before we get to this weekend.
Well, and that's why I'm like, do we jump right in this, or do we wait a day, let it kind of simmer, get the practice squad stuff? It's like,
stuff going on. The 2 trades and everything else, it's worth talking about.
Yeah, absolutely.
But don't think for the 2%ers who are probably the only people left now again, don't think this is the last of it. There'll be more changes. We all know that.
Yeah, and we'll find out about those. And again, practice squads, I believe, get established by 4 p.m. tomorrow. There's people probably already on the phone. Well, hold on. Actually, you got to have all the waiver claims. I think we got one more day. So everybody's got to go through the waiver process first. Then everybody becomes free agents. Then you can start establishing the practice squads. I should know this. I thought I had this date actually earmarked somewhere out there. Let me see. I'm not a singer. I should never do that ever again.
That's
yeah.
Look, for people who didn't want me to sing, you really don't want Joe.
You know
to
what?
Sing.
Actually, I think it's after. Absolutely, no, we don't. Neither one of us should be even near a karaoke mic ever. This is the only thing we should be doing with the microphone. Brian,
I find your insinuation insulting. I feel I should absolutely be near a karaoke mic.
No, you do not. And I mean, he does, folks. He does not want me. Sometimes we have to do some testing and check the bars and stuff like that. And I may have a little pre-recorded clip already in the holster that I didn't delete. It might be in the trash can, the recycle bin. I might be able to bring that back. Practice squad will be established at probably after 4 p.m. On Wednesday, August 31st. So they could do that. But you got to have everybody go through waivers. And those transactions become official by end of NFL business day, Eastern time, 4 p.m. as always. So, just to iron that out a little bit. And let's talk about our special teamers. What used to be a thick kicker, he's there. He's back. He's looked actually pretty decent this preseason. Presley Harvin III. We've got Chris Boswell. He should be just steady Eddie. That's what he should be. And Christian Kuntz.
Wizard of Boz.
The Wizard of Boz. That's right, man. It's like you had me almost tapping on my desk, which would have been a very, very bad thing. It's almost as bad as your mechanical keyboard. There it is. Brian, man. I don't know. We got anything else to talk about? Should we go into the trades any much more? I don't know that it's entirely necessary. We kind of glossed over just a little bit, but I think we said enough with saying that Dan Moore is far from safe as a starter, and they needed edge depth. They needed somebody that had some experience other than Derek Tuska. I think they kind of like Derek Tuska and maybe offer some things to special teams, but it's scary to think that a guy that was a 7th round pick of not even with his original team and picked up off of like a waiver claim or whatever, and is just kind of sitting there. I mean, Brett Kiesel made a career, but that's, James Harrison made a career undrafted. Kiesel, 7th round pick, but that's such an exception to the norm.
Yeah.
It's scary to just have somebody that inexperienced, that green as your top option. And even worse than that would have been maybe Delonte Scott or Hamilcar Rashid, who could probably be practice squad targets. Somebody else said Tuzar Skipper. I've been out on Tuzar Skipper since Tuzar Skipper was in. I don't think they like him as a special teamer. That's why he never hangs around too long. It was just enough to get through practice, and he knew the routines, go through the motions. I think that was the only reason why he was there. Nothing against him. It's just they're professional football players. It's the cream of the crop. It's the best of the best. You're turning over a new leaf. You're looking under rocks for the next big thing, the next big find, the next big steal, anywhere you can to improve your football team. Bill Belichick brings in lacrosse players. I mean, you see guys come over from rugby, from overseas. It's whatever you can do if you can get to go. Brock Lesnar had a freaking tryout with the Minnesota Vikings as an offensive lineman way back when. You know, it is what it is. I think I've said my piece on that. What's next?
I don't know who Brock, whatever his name is.
Oh, come on, man. WWE, UFC.
I don't know. I don't even know what those letters stand for.
You've got to be kidding me, man. You've got to know that. Don't go doing all that. Don't go doing all that. I just, what was I going to say? I was going to pull up a photo of Brock Lesnar. You had to have seen this guy around. He's like a massive humanity. It's one of the.
I don't. You're absolutely incorrect. I do not have to have seen this guy around.
No, I think you've had to. There he is. That's a young Brock Lesnar. Now he has like a sword tattooed on the middle of his chest now. But
I do not recognize this individual in any way, shape, or form.
Oh my goodness, man! You're a tough crowd. That guy does not look familiar to you. Wow, that's just
no.
Kind of looks like you in a way. Well, maybe not with the sword tattoo and the championship belt, but
I got enough tattoos, but I don't have a sword in the middle of my chest.
Oh man, it reminded me of a text conversation earlier that I will not repeat between me and you. So dirty things. I told you, son of a truck driver. I don't know, son of a sailor.
That's right.
Son of a sailor by any chance? So we could be something like that. I don't know. Getting too old for this stuff, Brian. Thanks for joining me. People were asking where you were. We provide, bringing the content, but
I'm here.
We're going to take a little bit of a break because you know what? Just until next week. I think we've given a lot of content. There's still a lot of good stuff on yesterday's show. Go back and look at it, even though we were talking about some of the moves that may happen today. Way more in-depth talk about the quarterback competition.
We're not going to record again on Monday just so I can talk about the Ohio State Notre Dame game.
No, we're not going to do that. I'm not even sure I'll be in town. I'm going out of town, bro. I'm not bringing the laptop with me. I'll be back. We'll be back. I'll be back in the SCU studios. Well, we both have to travel when we go to games, even when it's home games. You know, even before I moved, I was still like an hour or so away from what was Heinz Field.
And thank you, for sure. Ladies and gentlemen, for somebody actually taking. I hope the young lady, I think her name was Jennifer, and her son. I hope you had an enjoyable time at the Lions game.
Yeah, and apologies to the gentleman who caught us late after Jennifer already got the tickets. If mine weren't already spoken for, I gave it to my cousin so he could take his 8.5-year-old daughter to the game instead, because it was my own daughter's birthday, and we thought about doing it too as the family thing, and it was family day. And I see why they do it, because there's fewer drunks at a preseason game. So you would hope anyways. And there's more gold seat backs.
Depends on if you go to a preseason game in Philly.
Anything in Philly, man. I don't know how you call that the city of brotherly love. It seems like the city of brotherly, like eternal enemy hate. They hate each other. They hate themselves. Like, it's just, it's that type of sporting town. It would be much. You imagine Mason Rudolph in Philadelphia. We talk about Pittsburgh. Like, they would hate him. Jalen Hurts is going to be booed out of town. Jalen Hurts is going to be booed out of town. And even Gardner Minshew, for his lovable, like, porn stash that he has, will be booed out of town at some point. I do believe. So, well,
they will turn on you quick.
They will. They are. New York's a tough media town. Philly's not too far. You know, just a stone's throw away. Tough towns to play in. Expensive cost of living. I would not want to be a pro athlete and play in LA or New York, or maybe even Chicago. Like, that's just feels like you wouldn't come away with anything. You'd end up on like one of these broke episodes just based on the cost of living in those big suburban areas. So, all right, my friend. Thanks for joining me. We're up against it. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. We'll be back to you. I might do a quick hitter. If we have some big news, I'll do a quick hitter. I'm capable of doing that. But as far as our meat of our content, again, the other show pairs real well with this. So if you're kind of a foodie and you're looking for that nice little companion drink or kind of appetizer to go into this, you can still go around and check that out too. It's not all dated information by any means, and we talked for like about a half hour about quarterbacks before we even got into what would be the 53, because we knew that would be the meat of this particular episode. So please do so. We appreciate your ratings and reviews as well, and most of your comments, most of your likes. Most of them.
All of them. I know. We appreciate all of your comments, even the ones that are ridiculous.
Yeah, well, and we'll call you on it sometimes, right? And sorry for some of the folks. We thought about going live, but nah, we just didn't have enough time to get that all set up for today's episode. So maybe in the near future, we'll have to do something that's like, I don't know, Sunday Night Live or something like that. So anyways, no, you will not be singing or doing any sketch comedy pieces, Brian. But you can put the bobblehead back up as we go to sign off. We encourage everyone out there. Thank you for supporting Steel City Underground. And until next time, my name's Joe. His name's Brian. The little bobblehead is Mini Brian. We encourage everyone out there to be safe, be good, and we'll catch you later.
We would like to thank you for listening and remind our listeners to follow us on social media and our website, www.steelcityunderground.com.